evening, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Wesley Chapel 2025 Candidate Forum, brought to you by the Village of Wesley Chapel Events and Programs Committee. My name is Joel Down, and I'm the chair of the Events and Programs Committee, and to my left here is Erin LaCroix, and she is the vice chair of our committee. Thank you for attending and being active in our elections in this community and learning about the candidates. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping things. First, we have the Village of Wesley Chapel Council meeting that is coming up on October 13th that we would encourage you to also come to continue to stay active. Secondly, we also have bathrooms outside the chambers out these doors and to the left. And then we also have water and extra mugs from a previous event, so please take as many as you'd like. We are also looking for village residents to join us on the Events and Programs Committee. If you're interested or have any further questions, feel free to come up to either me or Erin. And we also have applications that you have to fill out, but those are really short and simple. And if you have any questions after tonight's event, feel free to contact the Village Hall during normal business hours. Additionally, we are also live streaming, hence why I'm holding this microphone tonight. So if you have anyone that is in your neighborhood or at home that is not here, feel free to make sure to have them pull that up on the Village YouTube page. And finally, before I pass it on to our moderator, I'd like to start off with a quick word of prayer, and then we will then have the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear God, thank you for today and the weather that you have given us. Thank you for the Village of Wesley Chapel and everything you have provided to us. I pray that tonight goes well and that we can have a positive discussion about the policies and the happenings within the Village of Wesley Chapel. I pray that you bless this night and keep us all safe, and that this night may be glorifying to you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, our moderator this evening is Brett Jensen, who is the senior reporter at WBT Radio in Charlotte, and the host of Breaking with Brett Jensen at 6 p.m. every weekday. Brett covers many local issues within the Charlotte and surrounding areas and has moderated various municipal debates and forums over his 7+ years at WBT. Please join me and give you Brett Jensen a warm Wesley Chapel welcome.
Thank you. Usually I don't have to have a microphone because I speak so loud, my voice is so loud. Usually I don't have to have one, so I'll try not to yell into the microphone. Thanks for everyone coming out here tonight. Union County is under a different set of circumstances than Mecklenburg County. I deal with this every single day in Mecklenburg County, but also you're not much different than Cabarrus County, and you're not much different, and it's really happening more in Gaston County. And you've already seen it in York County, where people are fleeing Mecklenburg County because they don't like the politics or they don't like the taxes. Or when they move here from another place, because only 70% of people in Mecklenburg, or only 30% of the people in Mecklenburg County are from Mecklenburg County. 70% are from somewhere else. So when people move here and they can't find a house, then they also know that the schools aren't very good. So what do? They're looking at Weddington, they're looking at Wesley Chapel, looking at all the York County, Fort Mill, like Fort Mill exploded. I moved to Gaston County in 1973 from upstate New York. I was 5 years old from Rochester. We moved to Gaston County, and the difference between Fort Mill then and Fort Mill now, Huntersville then and Huntersville now, so it is ever changing, and everyone is figuring out what's going on in Union County, so let's get to Union County. So with that said, let's start off I want to I'll start off with Deb Bledsoe first, who's running for town council.
We're a village, not a town.
Oh, okay, sorry, village council then, sorry. Village council then, my apologies. All right, so Deb, with this, the 2020 census had you at about 8,800 people. Mm-hmm. You're at about 9,800 now. You've gained 1,000 people in 5 years. Is that too much, too fast?
I believe so, because when you have swarms of people coming in, you don't have the housing, so new developments have to be put in. The schools get overcrowded. It just has to be some normality to when people move to a town, and we don't have that here. I mean, they're predicting by 2050 that we'll be like over 300,000 people here. So, you know, it's kind of scary. But yeah, I
Well-
think it is too fast. I think it's a nice slow pace would be better.
Jonathan, is it too much too soon?
So the growth within Wesley Chapel, I don't think is unsustainable. We've done a really good job with planning board of making sure that we have community spaced out, that we have the resources. The school board is doing a phenomenal job of making sure that we're load balancing between the schools and keeping them fair and equitable. However, my bigger concern is the fact that we're also seeing a tremendous amount of growth in the unincorporated areas around our village, in which the county itself is in control of, as well as we're seeing rapid growth in Monroe, Waxhaw, and Weddington. And all of those are stressing our infrastructure here with our roadways and whatnot, which are impacting our citizens. So that's where I see the concern with the growth, is not necessarily within the village itself, but within the surrounding areas, that growth is happening, and we have to be adaptable to that.
Jonathan Aliff, the fact that during the last recent elections involving Union County and last election involving Waxhaw, when I moderated them, the big theme was the big red wall. We want to stop people from coming into Mecklenburg County, and you see with the sewer lines, the county's trying to stop the sewer lines and all the infrastructure to slow down the growth. Do you agree with what the county is doing, and do you agree that the growth needs to slow down dramatically?
Yes, to the extent that we need to have an opportunity to be able to catch up with our infrastructure and the resources that we have available to us. Like I was mentioning with the schools, our schools are doing a really good job of load balancing right now, but there's only so many seats, there's only so many classrooms. I know that the council just this last year approved additional mobile classrooms at Wesley Chapel Elementary School, which is, it's a great thing when we know that it's going to be a wave, a push to come through for those resources. But when we're looking at exponential growth over the years, eventually those mobile classrooms need to become additional resources. They need to become physical locations, not just mobile classrooms. But again, the biggest impact I see with us is just our traffic. Our traffic is terrible, and it's only getting worse because here at the village, we have 84, which is a main transit corridor between Weddington and Monroe, and we also see Indian Trail Waxhaw right between us, which is, again, a corridor between two of the biggest municipalities in the county, and we're the ones who are stuck handling that traffic, impacting our citizens on a day-to-day basis. So we need to be at a forefront of handling that and working with the county to make sure that those resources are adequately addressed before we continue to allow additional building and additional residences coming up.
Mike Como, in terms of growth, so we know that 1,000 people have moved here over the last 5 years, and more people are going to want to keep moving here. But at that same point, you're also having pretty good expansion. I just drove through, coming through the village, whether it's a new Dunkin' Donuts, you got the Chick-fil-A, retail expansion. With more retail brings more people who want to come here, even if they don't live here. Is that a problem as well?
To some degree, yes, but to go back to Jonathan's point, the traffic, the water, the sewer, the infrastructure is something that we don't control. That's something that it's controlled at the county level, and we're sometimes having to deal with their shortcomings. And they've refocused, I think, to some degree at the county level, realizing that their lack of vision long-term is impacting the municipalities. As far as infrastructure, everybody wants more restaurants, everybody wants more shopping. They just don't want it right next to their house. So we have an area that's designated specifically for residents, for restaurants and for shopping. I don't mind that bubble growing a little bit, but I'd still like to control the growth.
Mayor Amanda Fuller, in terms of that, in terms of infrastructure and everything else and everything, but also bringing in more taxes, when it comes to the budget and looking at budget and itemizing certain things, what is your philosophy on the budget in terms of importance?
Well, Wesley Chapel historically does not go into debt, has not borrowed money, built the town hall or village hall in the park in one, I think it was in the same fiscal year. Wesley Chapel is very conservative. We've done a great job at saving money, and in the past budget year, we did allocate some money to save for future road improvements and for the high hazard or dam remediation at Dogwood Park. So my goal is just to think long-term about these big projects we have coming up and how are we gonna pay for them without drastically increasing the tax rate.
Well, and that goes back to the more people you have, the less you have to increase the tax rate. The fewer people you have, the more you have to increase the tax rate. And so that's the weird dichotomy that a lot of these small towns are in. 'Cause if you want to pay for infrastructure, then you know you have to get the money from somewhere without going into debt, which helps if you have more people moving in or businesses moving in, but also keeping it the way it is. And that's the hard choice that a lot of the small towns are having to deal with, to figure out which way the money's going to come from. So with all that being said, Mike Como, in terms of the budget, I know you guys have had flooding issues recently, and in the dam and situation like that, even before Hurricane Helene, and it's been a problem. And there's estimates that it could cost upwards of $1 million to try and fix the dam. How does the village go about trying to reconcile getting that also with federal funds as well?
Well, we have applied for a grant to do the majority of that work, and we're hoping to get that grant. But if we don't get the grant, we still have to do the work according to the state. Our motto is a great place to live and raise a family, but the three things we've got going for us is good schools, low taxes, and a lot of house for the money when you move here. We don't want to change either one of those three branches or pillars of our community. And if we have to raise taxes to do that, that would be a hardship on everyone, including us.
So, Deb Bledsoe, in terms of having to deal with the federal government or the county government, whatever it is that you may need, or the state government when it comes to roads or the dam and the flooding, how do you go about building communications with those particular people? How do you ensure that your voice is heard when you're a small village to a state rep or federal rep?
Well, you can go to Raleigh, you can go and visit them yourself, or you can just continue conversations. As far as the county goes, attending their meetings, speaking your piece, talking about how you feel and the problems that you've got. You just do the best you can. There's emails and telephones and walking in the door and knocking and say, hey, we have a problem. And I think a lot of them know us already. So, it's not like we have to start from scratch.
Amanda Fuller, what does the relationship with, because as the face of the village, you a lot of times will be up front and center when dealing with people up in Raleigh or people in DC or people in Union County at the county commission. What does relationships like that, what do they look like to you?
When I got involved many years ago, we did not have the best relationship with the county. And a lot of it had to do with our donut holes and rezoning along our border for higher density. We have worked on that over several years. And one thing that really helped was, I think it's about 4 or 5 years ago now, we helped create WUMA, which is the Western Union Municipal Alliance. So when several small municipalities work together, our voices get louder and we start to get taken a little more seriously. So we have successfully worked with the county, and they have turned down some rezonings and donut holes and on our borders because it did not fit in with our comprehensive plan. So we're lucky that we were blessed with an amazing contract planner who helped us build a really strong comp plan that shows exactly who Wesley Chapel is and what we want to be in the future. And I remember sitting in one of those first comp plan meetings, and the county representative said, "This is ridiculous. You can't have 1 house per acre zoning." And then a few meetings later, he got to know us, and he was like, actually, you can have 1 house per acre zoning. This is Wesley Chapel. People want that, and you can stand up for this, and you can have that in your town. So we've come a long way, and there have been several times we have put our foot down and stood up for what we believe in, which is not high-density housing, and relationships are better for it.
Jonathan Aliff, she's talking about the future of the village of Wesley Chapel. What does it look like 5 years from now?
My vision of Wesley Chapel, and, having read the 2050 plan, comprehensive plan, is that the Village of Wesley Chapel maintains its nature and its character that we see today, right? We have low-density housing. We're still more agricultural than, suburban is the hope of it. I would love to see better road systems. I'd love to see a little bit more safety resources in the village, especially as we continue to be a transit corridor. I do believe that we need to have a greater safety presence in the village. So really, the natural character of the village itself hasn't changed. Right. We might get a little bit bigger. Maybe we might get our own zip code finally. Hopefully, that bonds us all back together a little bit more as a community. And ultimately, we just see all the benefits of the growth without the downsides that other communities such as Waxhaw have seen.
So, Mike Como, I know we're talking a lot about growth and infrastructure. So, how do you plan to maintain the roads that you currently have, as well as improving on some of the infrastructure as more and more people come here specifically with roads? How does one go about maintaining the roads and making sure that they're still accommodated for?
Well, we don't take PAL money, we don't take a tax in specifically to deal with roads. That's basically put on the county. But the county has asked us to come to the table with a 20% or a 30% matching. The frustration there is with the matching, they won't tell us when the project will be done or how much the project's going to be. They just say 20%. When we say 20% of what, they say, well, we don't know. So it makes it kind of tough. But the reason the developers are looking at Union County the most is because we have a lot of land to be developed compared to Mecklenburg County, where there's less land, less open space to develop. So our job is to control that chaos and not let things get out of hand with the infrastructure, with the other municipalities. The problem we're having, all the municipalities are having, is to dealing directly with the county level people, and which is a great reason we put together the WUMA program, so that all the municipalities would speak with a united voice. And it made the county commissioners sit up a little bit and take notice and say, yeah, these guys are all working together, so we need to start paying attention.
I want to go back to the Mayor Mandafola here. So we're talking about the spending, and we talked to you earlier about the budgets. We've had major issues in Charlotte with the mayor and the town manager or the city manager being transparent and open in the city council, and we all know about the issues that have been going on with secret payouts to the police chief and everything else. So how do you ensure transparency and accountability in the village when it comes to spending and the decisions?
Well, we have, our budget meetings are open to the public. We had some staff transition, and we knew that it wasn't something we could handle on our own. So we hired a nationally accredited firm to come in and help us and get where we need to be. We're audited annually. Financial reports are available. We are very transparent as a council, too. We have always said that, I know I have always said that I'm not going to take a backroom meeting with the developer. If he has anything they want to say to me, they can say it right here in our chambers, open to anyone. I think we're pretty transparent. We have a lot of meetings. Sometimes I let people talk too much in meetings, but we try to make sure everybody has a chance to ask questions, and what information you want, put in a public records request. We'll get it to you.
Well, that's good, because in Charlotte, we're still waiting 5, 6, 7 years for Freedom of Information Act records about city records. Still
I
waiting.
can only imagine how many they get. We don't get quite as many, but we also don't have nearly the budget, the staff, anything that Charlotte has.
That's right. That's exactly right. Deb, in terms of, obviously there's been a lot of flooding and issues with that within the village. So it impacts, obviously the property owners, but could potentially, impact resale values and insurance and everything else. So how do you help these properties that are prone to flooding, and how will you try to help prevent it in the future?
One of the problems that contributes to stormwater, to flooding, it is the clear cutting and removal of, because the trees help absorb that. And when you just clear cut, you know, they have no place to go, plus the surf, you know, having a lot of impervious, that's the word I was looking for. Impervious surfaces doesn't help. So as far as the homeowners, you know, you can help them know what services are available and help them contact, you know, these different things. And I'm not really familiar with as far as, you know, what they have to do on a state level, or I know there's a process where they what is it, yeah, but when the levels, and they have to be certain, the storm levels and the flood levels and all those.
The stormwater standard.
Yeah, the stormwater standard, that's what I think. And and I've got to apologize. I had surgery Monday, and I'm on painkillers. And so I'm just, if I sound like a doof, it's because I am right now. Say what?
He said, do you have any more?
Oh, do I have any more? So anyway, I am sorry if I stumble and mumble around. But that, you know, flooding is a really serious problem, and unless the developers especially can come in and just make an already bad situation really bad. So it's a problem. It's a real problem. It doesn't have a lot of really easy answers.
Mike Como, so talking about the environment and the rain and everything, what is your position on environmental sustainability, whether it's with the park, and how do you implement some eco-friendly policies if you want to within the village and at the village level?
Well, the tree saver question should really go to Deb, because she's the biggest tree hugger of the group. But we have on staff, a paid staff member who is a stormwater engineer. We also have a, what's the tree guy called? The
Forester.
We have a forester that we pay to advise us. The weird thing about it is, you know, just because we're elected officials, we're not an expert on everything. But we have experts that work for us that advise us on things, because we can't be an expert on trees. We can't be an expert on water. We can't be an expert on engineering. So we work with people that are experts and take their advice and their recommendations. And I think that's one of the things a leader should do.
So, Jonathan Aliff, one of the things that's not discussed very often are the North Carolina is the impact fees and stuff like that. So the fees are charged to developers to compensate for municipalities for their impact on the community. These fees frequently went into infrastructure projects such as roads, waters, schools, sewer, et cetera. In 2016, they were ruled as unconstitutional by the state Supreme Court. Are you in support of a state constitutional amendment that would allow impact fees to be reinstated? And if so, why or why not?
So I don't have a lot of information on that, so I won't speak to whether or not I believe we should have a constitutional amendment. I believe that anytime you approach the Constitution, you should do it carefully and well thought out. I do know what the village has been doing to address some of those issues, such as we just took over a year. As a member of the planning board, we were at the head of that, of reevaluating our stormwater ordinances to make sure that they're up to snuff, that are putting more pressure onto the builders to ensure that they're building ways that the water can get out of the community and not into our floodplains, that they're not impacting the residents downstream from those. We've also seen it with our conservation ordinances that we've put into place to better protect the tree saves and what have you. And we also do it at the planning board level by ensuring that we're getting those road assessments for the impacts to see how it's going to impact the congestion along roads. If you want to put a 50-house complex on a single road onto one of our busiest roads and know, hey, that's going to be 100 additional cars right next to one of our elementary schools that everybody's going to be leaving when everybody's dropping off their kids. So what is the DOT telling you that you have to do? And then here's what we think you need to do to make that the best plan possible. And those are three items that I know that the village is taking very serious and the council has been taking very serious in updating and enforcing when we're seeing builders wanting to come in and improve our community.
Mike, speaking of, the roads, you guys recently put in a new roundabout over there at Potter Road. So what do you think about the roundabouts? Do you think they improve the traffic? Because a lot of people will tell you they do, but also sometimes, like the experts will say they do, but the residents will disagree with that totally. So what are your thoughts about the roundabouts? Do you think they alleviate congestion, and would you be in favor of more or less?
I actually cornered one of the Department of Transportation engineers about this one day in this very room, and I said, there's the super streets that are supposed to keep traffic flowing so that nobody can make a left-hand turn. You have to make a right, make a U-turn, and go through the intersection twice. And then you've got roundabouts, which are designed to keep the traffic flowing, but at a slower rate. And I said, you never want to jam those two things together, a super street and a roundabout. He said, absolutely, you never want to put those two things together. And I said, that's exactly what you have planned for back down here. A super street that ends in a roundabout. And he goes, oh, so just because these guys are professional engineers, sometimes they stick their foot right in their mouth. And again, we are not engineers. We are not experts on every subject. So we have to rely on people who are experts and hope they know how to do their jobs. But when you see something that obviously isn't going to work and doesn't make sense, you have to question it and say, and you want me to pay 20% of this project? And I don't think it's going to work. And you put it in and it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. So no, I don't mind paying to improve the roads or to improve the intersections, but I just don't want to have to do it twice.
Mayor Amanda Fuller, what areas do you think the village is overspending or underspending on?
I am proud of this council that in the last fiscal budget, we started saving some money for future road improvements and for repairing the high hazard dam if we have to. We're still waiting to hear on FEMA, but if not, hopefully in a few years. The state said we could take several years to save the money and be ready to pay for it. I do have some concerns about Dogwood Park. We are a small village of, less than 10,000 people. We are not required to provide all the parks and recreation for the county. We're not required to provide all the events and programs for the county. Historically, Parks and Rec has done a couple events a year that have been very successful and very well done and not terribly expensive because they've been done with a lot of volunteers and community partnerships. Dogwood Park, when it was built to be a passive park, to walk around and enjoy nature, and our amazing parks manager and his new sidekick. John has done amazing things at the park, and we have several projects. We put in a playground, but I think we need to be very careful about adding additional stuff into Dogwood Park. I don't think we need another playground in there, or we don't need additional parking, and we don't need this. We have to remember the beauty of the park is the open space and the greenery and the bushes. I don't want to see another building in there. Because a lot of people who go to Dogwood Park, we've seen this, are not necessarily Wesley Chapel residents. So we shouldn't be spending half of our budget or more funding additional things to go in a park that is beautiful and perfect as it is.
So with that being said, Deb Bledsoe, in terms of recreation, it's a perfect segue. In terms of that, what are your thoughts on maybe adding some, with the roads or whatever, in terms of bicycle lanes? Because I know that's a big thing now that is happening in other places. They're trying to add extra lanes, maybe not in downtown right here or where the major intersection, but in terms of adding maybe some on the side roads or near the parks. What are your thoughts about that, and how would you like to see that, implemented?
First, I'd have to find out what that type of thing would cost. But I love it. I love riding my bike, and I think the more people are getting out and keeping in shape and enjoying the environment and enjoying the weather and such, like I said, I think sidewalks, I know sidewalks are horrendously expensive. And I imagine that they would be too, but, you know, we could, if we were approached about doing that, I wouldn't be opposed to looking into possible ways of funding it. But again, that's kind of like a luxury that we may not be able to afford.
So, Mike Como, if you're stuck in traffic, because traffic can be bad sometimes, as I'm driving to Stonebridge to play golf, if you're stuck in traffic and you're, next to someone and you got the windows down, but it's maybe someone who disagrees with you or someone's riding with you, what conversations would you have with that particular person?
Well, I've talked with the county who is in charge of the roads, and they said that these roads were never designed for the development that the county level is approving. These roads were designed for the farmers to get their crops to market. And it goes back to infrastructure. If we don't improve the infrastructure, if we don't improve the intersections, the roads in general, to take that, the growth is going to be an issue. We're lucky to some degree, cause and effect, that we're having problems with water and sewer, and that's controlling the growth to some degree. It shouldn't be the only way we control growth, but it is helping us work with the county to, people think you have a field, you just put houses there. Well, if you put houses there, where are you gonna get the water? Where are you gonna get the electricity? Where's the sewage gonna go? Where are the kids gonna go to school? Where are they gonna shop? These are all issues that we have to look at when we're approving a subdivision or even considering it.
So I want to go down the line and ask all four of you the same question. And, Mike, we'll just start with you and we'll just work our way down. I believe it was a friend of mine, Dan Barry, who came up with the term the big red wall for trying to prevent people from keep moving into Union County. So are you in favor of something like the big red wall to try and prevent people from moving into this area?
No, I think we should have development, but I think the development needs to be controlled and sustainable. And it's got to come with infrastructure specifically. If you don't have the infrastructure, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
I agree with Mike on this. That I don't think that you can stop growth, and I don't think that you can stop progress. First of all, it's not fair. I moved into this community, and I love it, and I'm very thankful that I'm here. I'm happy to be raising my family here, and I want that opportunity for more people. But as Mike said, it needs to be done in a logical, systematic way to ensure that we're not impacting negatively the citizens that already live here. Right? We need to make sure that the infrastructure is in place that allows for a smooth transition as we add additional citizens and additional residents to the area. And what we saw in Waxhaw is just, it's not sustainable. Where they're just, yep, green light, go ahead, build. And it's like multi-family housing, high density, apartment complexes. Our village is not built for that. It's just not. It is agricultural, it is rural. It is meant to have the one house per acre, and I think that the council has done a very good job of maintaining that. I do see some challenges at the county level, and I am very happy that we do have WUMA, and I'm very happy that we have activity on the CTPRO, CTPO. Sorry about that, which is the Regional Transportation Authority that helps us prioritize the intersections that need the most help, the ones that we see the accidents, the ones that we see the major backups. And they're the ones who go to the county and to the state level to help us get funding for that. And then we have to kick in to help to tell them, hey, this is a priority for our village. So yes, we do have to pay our 20 or 30%, and that just helps us get on that prioritized list so that our citizens don't have to deal with the traffic impacts as we add another 100,000 cars onto our roads every year. That's a made-up number.
Mayor?
Well, I think that the red wall is about a little more than letting people in and out. But we're nonpartisan, so we're not going to get into any of that. But we absolutely cannot prevent people from moving down here. We just need to have strong comprehensive plans and growth plans for our area. And it can't just be one place. It has to be all of us working together. I would like to say that when I was born and raised in North Carolina, lived in Charlotte, did not want to raise my children there, so I moved here. But sometimes what we hear from people, they move from other places and they come here and they're sad they don't have some of the stuff they had where they came from, right? Like, I spoke to a guy once and he got me and he's like, why am I talking to the mayor? There was a person in New York, who I spoke to directly when I had any concerns. I was like, well, sir, like, your tax rate is very, very low. So you get me, and guess what? I get about $400 a month. So, woo-hoo. So I would like to encourage people when they move here, when they move to a new place, to learn about it and become an active part of the community, because you might move down here and miss your Trader Joe's, and you might come down here and not like a roundabout, but learn about us and learn why some of these things aren't here. And maybe you'll be a little bit happier.
Deb, you?
Well, the median home value in Wesley Chapel, it was, during our 2050, it was like $350,000-ish. It's probably twice that now with the new home value. So the people that are financially stable enough to be able to afford homes of that value, I just can't see them wanting to move into neighborhoods that are, you know, they want nice neighborhoods. They want trees in their yards. They want an acre of land. And if you can see the value of that, if you can come into an area and go, wow, you know, this is a great town, and then there's got to be a reason you're trying to move there. So, you know, I don't think you're going to have the riffraff, and I don't know, I can't think of another word, try to move into Wesley Chapel because you can't afford it. You know, 50% of the people who live in this town are college educated. So you know, it's just a different type of people that move into neighborhoods like Marvin and Wesley Chapel, and because the cost of living is higher. The homes are more expensive, and you know, I think that in itself is the red wall. The affordability of living in a place like Wesley Chapel or Marvin is that can determine who can move in and who can.
So we've been going almost 45 minutes, and so we'll end it on this. And I'm not going to ask the question that every North Carolina politician is told to never answer, which is, do you prefer Eastern or Western style North Carolina barbecue? Every single politician is told never to answer that. But I will end it on this. And so, Deb, we'll just start with you and work our way back down. What's your favorite spot in the village? Is it a park, a restaurant, a landmark, and why? What's your favorite spot in all? Not your favorite thing that you like, but your favorite spot.
Well, a year or two ago, we've created a dogwood grove, and it's 25 dogwood trees celebrating our 25th anniversary, or 25th birthday of Wesley Chapel. And we dedicated those trees. People sponsored them and dedicated to their memories of their loved ones, dedicated them in honor of loved ones. And just, I also did that with my late husband. So it's just really nice to be able to go and sit and commune with nature, you know. So that's probably my favorite spot, is the 25 tree grove.
Mayor?
I'm the mayor, and I only get to vote if there's a tie. I'm also a mother of 3, so I'm always outnumbered, and a school teacher. And I can't have favorites. I have to love all of the village equally and not have any favorites. So, I love it all.
Very politically correct of you.
Yes. Whoa.
Jonathan?
So I'm gonna play both sides of the fence as well. I'm gonna say my favorite spot in the entire village is home. It is the first home my wife and I own.
Yeah.
It's where my children are growing up. It's where we got our first set of dogs as adults. It's where I've survived cancer. It is where I've made friends. It is where I've built my community. So my home is my favorite spot because I know when I'm there that I'm surrounded by people I love, and I am surrounded by the love of those people. And it means a lot to me. But my second favorite spot inside the village, not my home, but in public, is there's a spot in Dogwood Park that that sits right above the park, right above the playground, right next to the dogwood tree, the dogwood grove. And I love to sit there because my daughter's first birthday here in the village, we had a little party there. And we sat up there and all of her and her little friends played in the park. And we got to be able to look down over the dogwood grove. We got to look down on the lake. My son and I have gone fishing there many times in the pond. And that's probably my favorite spot. It's quiet, it's peaceful. You get to see everybody walking by. You get to watch the children play. We have the golf course going right into it. And that's probably my favorite spot on a Saturday morning, to go get breakfast with my kids and just sit there as we enjoy and welcome the weekend.
Mike?
I've got to say, you stole one of mine, but the Dogwood Park has been near and dear to my heart ever since I started working with the village. But I would say the whole town in general. I know when I'm traveling, if I have to go to South Carolina or if I have to go into Charlotte, once I come back in and once I cross into Wesley Chapel, I go, this is home. This is where I live. This is where I shop. This is where I bank. This is where I do my dry cleaning. This is where all this is my little area, and I'm proud of that. Our town motto, we keep going back to, it's a great place to live and raise a family, and that's just something I try to keep in the back of my head all the time.
Well, again, want to thank everyone for coming out here tonight and who's watching also on the streaming service. But again, thanks to Deb Bledsoe, Mayor Amanda Fuller, Mike Como, and Jonathan Aliff. Thanks for doing this, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Really quick, thank you, Brett, very much. To the candidates, is there a way that our village residents, if they have any questions, can reach you? I'll go from Mike down on how you would prefer to be contacted.
Not in the produce section of the grocery store, which is where 90% of people seem to corner me and say, hey, what about this and what about that? And I'm like, you can email me, you can call me on the phone, you can send me a letter. I will respond to anything. But when I'm trying to pick grapes and strawberries, for some reason that always seems to be the case when I'm in the grocery store.
Very good. Jonathan?
Don't call me on my cell phone, though, because I don't have one.
It's true.
If you see me out and about, please feel free to stop and ask me a question, especially at Dogwood Park in the mornings. But if you don't see me out and about, then please feel free to reach out to me at electedjonathanailiff@gmail.com. I check that email every day, and I will be more than happy to respond. We can set up a phone call. We can meet here at Town Hall before a council meeting or before a planning board meeting, and I mean Village Hall. Sorry.
Email is always the best way. I try to always reach out within 24 hours. I did let somebody slip through the cracks like 2 weeks ago, but I didn't see it, I promise. I do try to reach out and answer calls between 24 and 48 hours. So if you email me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Same. And our information, contact information is on our website. So anybody that wants to go and, see this, unless they've taken it down. Have they taken it down?
Nope.
They're still there? So they'll be able to find those.
Are we going to take any questions?
No, sir. They can contact you. We had a couple of resident questions that were sprinkled in with the questions asked to the candidates tonight that were written in. If anybody has any further questions, they can contact you directly. And that's why I wanted to go around the room and say, how would you like to be contacted? I do appreciate very much all of our village residents who came out tonight. You guys are the backbone of our village. You show up to be informed on who represents you and who makes the laws or the policy in the village. Thank you very much to Mr. Joel Down, Chair of the Events and Programs Committee, and for the entire committee. I hope everyone has a fantastic night.